It's a really fast flying and poison type. It's actually, if you haven't picked up a flying type already, I suppose Zubat might be for you. It's definitely one of the fastest ones, and its ability is pretty nice. Golbat is very fast. You're definitely going to be seeing no shortage of these if you're going to be looking for wild Pokemon in here. It's a fast Pokemon though, but I really don't like its type, and I don't like the moves that it learns. It does have a good evolution, which gets later moves in the next generation of Pokemon though, but we're not in the next generation of Pokemon, so I don't recommend it though, but I guess if you want a fast Pokemon, it's not like it can actually stop you. Zubat, which is a fast Pokemon, really good for poisoning, and it pretty much always attacks first at this point in the game, so it's not bad. Ooh, Totodog level 7. Next is Golbat. Golbat is a very fast Pokemon, a much better poison type than Arbok though, so if you want that, I can somewhat recommend that. Can be a little bit hard to get it fully evolved, but it's definitely worth it. Zubat! Any classic Pokemon fan has seen all too many of these in their life, but despite being so common, Zubat really isn't that bad of a Pokemon. Much like Tentacool, you would think something so common would be so good, but it actually is pretty good. One of the better poison types, it is extremely fast. When it evolves into Golbat, which it does so at a decent level, I guess, takes kind of a while to evolve, which kind of sucks though, but once it evolves into Golbat, ridiculously fast, really good at getting into free hits. To evolve it into its final evolution to Crobat, which is one of my personal favorite Pokemon, you need to evolve it through happiness, which is something we haven't encountered yet. You have to basically just have it with you. Holding an item that we're going to get later called the Soothe Bell will help that. Not letting it faint in battle, things like that will raise happiness though, so pretty good. Zubat is a very, very fast Pokemon. If you want something speedy, it's not going to really be winning awards in speed like my Jolteon or that Voltorb that we just had, but it's still pretty dang fast nonetheless, especially when it evolves. Good TMs for this Pokemon you could obtain throughout this game as well. Zubat, I believe, is one of only 2 Pokemon obtainable in XD that evolves through happiness. We already have the Soothe Bell in our possession, which makes it easier to grow happiness. If I could describe Zubat in one way, it would be useless. Until it gets Wing Attack. No, I'm serious. Once Zubat can get Wing Attack, it is a force to be reckoned with. It's a tough uphill battle for those first few levels, but if you can just get it to that point, it's very respectable. I like poison types more than most people do. Offensively speaking, it's one of the worst types out there. In 4th generation, it's only super effective on grass, but defense is where it really shines. It resists so many common types. Poison Flying gives it 3 quad resistances, Fighting Bug in grass, gives it a nice ground immunity that would normally be a weakness if it was just a poison type. Not only that, but it's really fast. In fact, when fully evolved, it's tied for being the 2nd fastest Pokemon in the Sinnoh-Dex. It's the perfect example of a super common Pokemon that a lot of people think is just weak. I mean, you fight it in the wild all the time, and yeah, who doesn't get annoyed at hearing its cry every 10 seconds whenever you're in any cave in any Pokemon game? It can get really frustrating to run into, and I can see why people would write it off thinking that it's weak because it's so common. But if you've never used one, you might want to try it out. Its playstyle is definitely different from Starly's, but if you want a flying-type Pokemon in your team and you don't want to go with the bog-standard Starly, it's something worth considering. And, you know, I think it's underrated. I praise it in every Let's Play I do, and maybe I'll use one someday. Golbat! This has probably the all-around best stats of anything you can encounter right now. You already know what Zubat is like from me using it, and in addition to everything that I've said about Zubat already, this Golbat will start off with some better moves than what Zubat did, even at the same level. That's not to say that you're going to be starting with Wing Attack or anything, but it is very good. However, you probably won't be encountering it due to that encounter rate. I didn't, because I didn't want to be here for hours, and like I said, and 2, I wanted to have a second team member a lot sooner than this. Right off the bat, we have Golbat! We have a type with some pretty good defenses that make it more than just a speedy Pokemon, but dang, it's a pretty speedy Pokemon. Of course, needing happiness to evolve is a bit of a turnoff for most, but it should be pretty easy to reach with your bike and your Soothe Bell. This is notable for being one of the few Pokemon to learn acrobatics, and it would be a pun crime if it didn't learn that. That's good, sure. But what's really just the best about it and getting to use that speed is effects like U-turn and taunt. Yet another common poison type that I think is better than you think it is. And hey, look who it is in the rustling grass. Crobat can be encountered at level 50, but shamefully, the Golbat and Dark Grass are much higher level. It's okay. It's okay. No, not Grimer.
The fact that it gets a praise of poison type after all. Zubat is utterly good. Sorry, I got a little carried away there. First natural word that describes it is fast. Point of fact, it's tied for being the fastest Pokemon in the new Pokédex. Its stats are pretty all around. It can take a couple of hits and do all right damage. Plus, Poison Flying is a unique type that offers some good resistances and a helpful ground immunity. Those are very reasonable requirements to evolve. If you spend maybe 20 minutes riding around on that shiny new bike, it could easily be a Crobat from just exploring the city before the next gym battle. Just look at those stats. That's by far the strongest Pokemon that's reasonable to obtain right now. For moves, it comes knowing Wing Attack and can get a few interesting physical attacks like Zen Headbutt. There's a TM for U-Turn, and every Zubat should get its hands, footless legs on it. A pretty good Pokemon if given the right tools. But Happiness Evolution? No problem. Should be pretty easy to land the Crobat. This thing will soar through the air at its supersonic speeds. Golbat makes a good lead, able to get out a move against pretty much anything, and is easy to switch back into later due to having so many defensive benefits to that type. Furthering this use, it learns U-Turn for a nice switch whenever trouble finds it. It'll need BP to purchase that TM though, so be warned. I wouldn't call Golbat's daddy frail either. It's okay at pretty much everything and has the slight benefit of never flinching. This is one of the few Pokemon that can learn Crobat X. If it's willing to give up the held item, that can be a great option. TMs and move tutors bring Super Fang, Shadow Ball, Zen Headbutt, and even Heat Wave. Totaling it all, Golbat is a Pokemon that can make good use of its intense speed and has a lot of decent traits even if it's not overpowered. Crobat is a speed demon, one of the fastest of all time. But it's not some frail little bean, oh no. Poison Flying has some awesome resistances that play off one another well, and its stats are good enough in all areas. It can sort of switch out into a lot safely. Inner Focus comes in handy once in a while. A lot of opponents do pack Fake Out. It's generally outspeeding stuff and not getting flinched outside of that, but it's alright, I guess. This is a Pokemon that's sadly still a bit underpowered in the moves department. Its attack stat isn't quite high enough to carry bad moves, and its best move, Brave Bird, is locked behind Breeding. It got Acrobatics, which means no held item, and then Aerial Ace is the next best option. Cross Poison and X-Scissor are next, and about the only compelling move other than that is the rare Super Fang from the move tutors. Crobat is not horrible or anything, it's just sort of its potential without breeding. By a fair amount. It's got some good stuff, but no main attack. Zubat! Say hello to amazing early game stats. You'll have to put up with Zubat being weak, using moves like Leech Life and Bite, but once it crests that hill of becoming a Golbat, it'll become a Crobat in no time flat, and it looks more like this. It's faster than anything you'll be battling for a couple dozen hours, has solid defensive typing to make up for its middling stats, and can use that amazing speed to taunt and prevent enemies from setting up. The drawbacks are not having any access to its best moves, so it'll just use Cross Poison, Air Slash, U-Turn, those kind of things. I would advise picking this if you want a poison type and not really if you want a flying type. It doesn't really do the job of a flying Pokemon all that well.